First step, put the mount in that position with the counterweights to the east so that I can see the computer screen and the mount, and I want to adjust the counterweight position so that it's balanced. And the way this works is that the mount in a balancing routine moves first one way, then the next, and the current required is shown by those little red lines. And the idea is that if you balance it, the two red lines are in the same position. So I just did that by feel, moving the counterweights up and down until it felt like it required the same force to move it one way or the other. Now the proof of the pudding will be when we have a look. So what I'll do now is we have to figure out, are the counterweights heavy or light? So if I put the one at the bottom needs to go further to the right, and the one at the top needs to come to the left. So if I add a bit of weight by putting my finger on here, will that does it. Okay, so it's a tiny little bit there. So obviously I need to put more weight on the counterweight. So one of them, they're all very haphazardly arranged. It might be nicer and neater to get them all hunky-dory and lined up, but if we, let's try that. If we had, let's think, if that one, we need more weight, so where would the centre of gravity be? The centre of gravity of those two will be here. The centre of gravity of those two will be there, so that one is probably at the, well, centre of mass. So let's move that one that way. No, that's obviously not going to work, is it? That's not going to work. I'm going to move all three of these, and you've got to be a bit careful because it'll start oscillating, because it's a PID controlled loop. Right, so now it needs to be heavier, yeah. So if you go up, 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 up. They don't all need to be together like this, I think it just looks neater. Okay, the lower one is going to the right, so that means we are too far out. Tiny. That's gonna do. I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to tighten that one up, and we'll take these down so that they're nicely oriented, just in line with where the RA axis is. Tighten that one. Have a final look here. Yeah, I think that'll do. Okay, then the next bit is extremely awkward because it's balancing it in declination. and there is no easy way of moving the telescope tube up and down the tube rings. It really is a trial and error thing. I've done it just roughly, so let's have a look. If I stop right ascension and choose declination, start, let's come down a little bit. Okay, I'm doing this with the end caps on, which is probably okay because they are made of very, very lightweight foam board, 20 grams, but probably the declination should be done without the end caps on. See if that's made any noticeable difference. Okay, that's the position that one got to. Now, the telescope's at the other side of the mount, so what I shall do is I will stop and exit that, and then drive it round. You notice it's as silent as can be. The magnetic field doesn't make a lot of noise. So I haven't tuned the direct drive motors yet, so I'm not going at maximum slewing speed. Okay, then if we go towards the north, you can't be badly untuned because it's not jerking around. If you get a bit of a problem, it can go horribly wrong. Now I'm sitting on a chair down below, and what I now will try and do, I did invent a system when this big scope was on with the old mirror, of having a little metal steel strip, which I might still employ, a little steel strip across here with a lead weight with a magnet on it, so I could move the magnet up and down the tube and decide which way to push it, and then push the whole tube up or down. It also needs to be organized and balanced in terms of its rotation position. The camera here is not symmetrically positioned. It's below the center of the axis here. The focuser sticks out there, the guide camera is sticking up there. This was a device I put in, this aluminium bar with a lead weight, so that it balances the camera assembly so that in the up and down direction it is nicely balanced. And the reason you need it is because in certain positions, if this is top heavy downwards and you're pointing towards the east, the camera could be balanced, the telescope should be balanced. And then you slew it around to the west and you find it's not balanced. So the only way to get it balanced in east and west is to have everything positioned nicely, symmetrically and balanced in that plane. So it takes a bit of time fiddling. So let's now have a look. I've got that now in the right position. So drive, servo setup, balance, where are we? Declination. Let's just check the RA, because you might find it's in a different orientation. So there we go, it's very slowly moving, and there you go, you can see it's not completely balanced in that direction. Exactly why is not easy to work out. So what I would do is I would have a look at this and the other one and then set it to be somewhere in the middle so that it's reasonably well balanced on each side. Stop declination. No, right ascension. Stop right ascension, then choose declination and start. And we try and get it at full resolution so it goes up to there. Oh yeah, look at that. That doesn't look too bad. I shall leave the mouse pointer where the lower one is, just to remind me. That's probably good enough. I would think that's good enough. The one at the top needs to go the minutest amount further to the right to get that peak, and that would be done with, let's see, little finger, add a little bit of weight on there. No, so that obviously was the wrong direction. If I push the mount upwards just with a gentle touch, I wanted the right one to be slightly further to the right. Oh yeah, so therefore it's back heavy, but it really would be quite a task. I suspect moving the telescope about 1 millimeter up that way will completely change that. So I might get that magnetic strip back in action if I can find it. I took it off months ago. Anyway, that is reasonably well balanced, so I will stop that for now and we'll have a look at tuning the motors, which can be a nightmare. We'll stop. Okay, what we do now is we automatically tune the P, I and D factors. Is it proportional, integral and differential, something like that. In the old days when this mount first came out, this auto tuning wasn't there. You had to do it by trial and error, and it really could take days. But what happens is you set this going, it will slew the mount backwards and forwards and work out what the best settings are. So I haven't done this for 5 years, which is when I had the small telescope put on, so I'm just trying to remember if I'm doing it right. I think we just hit start fast tuning. So there it's rabbiting on about various things, measuring old tuning sidereal speed, measuring current, blah blah. Just ignore that and fingers crossed. If it's badly tuned, it judders and vibrates and makes an awful noise. It's now tuning right ascension sidereal speeds. There's a little blue progress counter doing that. The mount is made in Austria, and a chap, Dr. Philip Keller, did all the software. This software is called AutoSlew. I'm running an ancient version 5.2.0.5. It's gone way ahead now, but my motto is, if it does exactly what I want it to do, why upgrade? Because you never know if there's some bug that makes it not work best for your particular system. So we're now tuning the right ascension fast speeds. No idea what it's doing. It's tuning declination fast speeds. Can't see it moving. Oh, there we go, that's right ascension movement. There's crosstalk between the right ascension and the declination, so if you tune the right ascension perfectly, then tune the declination perfectly, you find you've not got the best right ascension. So use a there we go. So auto tuning finished. Could not increase performance for slow speeds, could not increase performance for fast speeds, keeping the old values. Now that means that this telescope is actually not much heavier than the old, the 8-inch, which is a bit of a surprise. The mirror is considerably thinner. This is a 2 centimeter thick mirror, but it's 10 inches across, whereas the other one was 8. Anyway, so discard all new parameter. That doesn't sound like a create a telescope file with the found parameters. I think I'll do that. So discard new, retry with different, close that. Now let's have a look at start high performance tuning. Whether it'll find an improvement or not is anybody's guess. Auto slew tuning finished. Hasn't done anything special, so create a telescope file with the found parameter, discard all new parameters to retry different. Okay, there's no OK there, so we don't want to do discard, we don't want to retry, so clearly the saving process will be done if I click that. Save to the INI file, that might be a good idea. And OK and exit. Now what I'll show, just as a little demonstration, is if you do if you do drive servo setup, and oh yes, of course it's tune manual. There we go, tune manual. It now has a little graph, so it's set on right ascension, and if we say go, there you will see it has a little graph of telling you what the expected position is and how many arc seconds. You can change the scale of this. So if we go 2.7 arc minutes, it looks absolutely solid. And if we go to the maximum sensitivity there, I believe every hundredth of a second it checks the position with its position encoders and works out how far away it is from where it should be. So 0.11 is at the maximum. That's a bit crazy there. 0.01 arc seconds. It hasn't got that resolution. I think it's got I thought it was 0.03, but that's too silly. So if we put it like that, and then a little demonstration I quite like to do is if you watch the screen and I actually hit the thing there. That's not a good idea. But if we just waft air, no cheating, there it is. It's less than 0.05 arc seconds, and that will move the whole telescope by about 0.1 arc seconds. And of course, as it moves away, it registers it and brings it back. So when there's a wind howling around, wind gets in the aperture of the dome and blows against the scope, but it corrects itself. So the motors are tuned, it's balanced reasonably well, ready to go. So I might just have a little experiment with loading up some planetarium software. So the one I use is Seal, and if all is well, it's quite easy to get it running. Telescope control panel connect. Hide that little window. So for example, if we pointed at where, let's have a look in Ursa Major, if we hit one of these stars there in Ursa Major and then go to the go to button, then off it goes and it slews around. I've got the end caps on. No point having them open, just get more dust than is necessary. So there we go, that's working quite nicely. And if we zoom inwards, it'll tell me which particular star I'm looking at. So if we want to move to another one here and hit go, then off it trundles, and there's a little frame marker there which will tell me more or less the orientation. So there we go, that is pointing over into the east. So if I then have a look at somewhere different, I mean, where is the moon at the moment? Let's have a click at that. Off it goes, coming around to the west hemisphere. So tonight it is forecast to be clear and with quite nice looking sky. It should be possible to test the camera and get the first light. So it's all working reasonably well. I'm very pleased. Sometimes when you put a different weighted scope on, it can be, there's Canis minor or major, I can't quite see. Putting a new scope on it can be a bit of a problem getting it balanced and sorted out. I will do far more fiddling with it because I like to get the camera oriented exactly north-south, so north is upwards in images, and that is an exercise for later, but the first light tonight should reveal what kind of image quality I'm going to get with these new mirrors in the telescope.